Now let us look at an example to understand how the constructors are called in inheritance. So I'll take a simple example. I'll write a class called base, class base, and inside this class I will not write anything, just I will write constructors. So first constructor is base, which is not taking any arguments, and here I will say cout. This is a default constructor of base, so I will say default of base and endl. So you know well that to get a new line you have to say endl. Then also I will write on one constructor, that is base, which is taking some argument x, and here I will say cout parameterized constructor of base. So I will write param of base, and I will also display this x and endl also. Okay, so that's all. This is a base class. Now base class is having two constructors. One is non-argument constructor, that is default constructor. One is parameterized constructor. Then I will write a class derived, that is inheriting from base, class derived, which is inheriting from base, that is public base. So I'll separate a line here. Now, inside this, I don't write any other members, just constructor. So first constructor is a derived, that is default constructor, that is non-argument constructor. And inside this, I will simply say cout default of derived class default. Then also I will write one more constructor derived, which is taking some parameter. I will take the variable name as a. Then cout, I'll say param of derived, and also I will display a. So that's it. So I have the classes ready. One is a base class with a default constructor and parameterized constructor, derived class with a default constructor and parameterized constructors. Now let us create an object of derived class and see how the constructors are executed. So inside a main method, suppose I am creating an object of derived class. So I will say derived D. Now I am creating an object of derived class D and not passing any arguments, means which constructor I am calling. I am trying to call this constructor, but you know well whose constructor will execute? Parent class constructor. But there are two constructors in parent class. Which constructor will execute? Default constructor. So by default constructor of parent class will be executed. Let us see what is that. So first it will display default of base, and then it will display default of derived. Oh, so it means when you create an object of derived class, first the base class constructor is executed, then the derived class constructor is executed. Yes, so this you should be aware of it. Whenever you are doing inheritance of classes, then you should be aware that the parent class constructor will be executed first, then child class constructor will be executed when you are creating an object of child class. Already I have given you the concept of a table, right? So first this is executed and then this is executed. So let us take an example of a table and understand this one. So already I gave you an example table. So look at it. You went to a furniture shop and you asked the furniture manufacturers that I want a table. Table is this one. That is a wooden plank, right? Top wooden plank. This is a table. So you said I want a table. So did you mention any dimensions, anything? Nothing you told. So suppose the furniture person, he commonly sells some tables that are of standard size. Whenever somebody are in requirement, he will hand over that size. He will manufacture and give that size. No need of giving any dimension, specific dimension. So you did not give any arguments. Then he know what, that is he has to manufacture a default table. So yes, he will manufacture a default table. Then what about wooden plank? That is also default. So he will ask that wooden manufacturer, asking him to make a wooden plank. Of what size? Again he did not give any arguments. So he will also understand and creates a default wooden plank and he will make a default table. That's it. So I am just relating. I did not write the code, but I am relating with that one. So the point here is, whenever you are creating an object of derived class, first the constructor of base class, then the constructor of derived class is executed. So which constructor of parent class is executed? Always the default constructor of parent class is executed. Now I'll make a change here. I will pass something that is 10. So what is this 10? I am trying to create an object of derived class by calling parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. Okay, but we know well that this will not execute first, the base class constructor will execute. So which one will execute? Again the default constructor is executed. This one is executed. So we'll get a default of base. Then after that it will come back and execute this one. So what it will show? Param of derived and A is displayed. So it will show param of derived and the value 10 will be shown. So still the default constructor of base class and then parameterized constructor of derived class are executed. So it means that I have given some argument to this table manufacturer. So what is the dimension I gave? I said that I want a table of height 3 feet or 4 feet or 2.5 feet. So I have given the dimension of height. What about the plank top? That is default. Normal size. Suppose 2 by 3 or 3 by 4, whatever the size, common sizes. So he will make that size only. So still default. Then this one is mention height. Now finally, I want to call parameterized constructor of base class when the object of derived class is executed. So for that, I should have a special constructor in derived class. So that constructor I will write down here. Okay, it should be a continuation, but I will write here. Now I'm writing a constructor of derived class. Just watch this one. So I have a constructor that is derived. Okay, there is no space, so I am continuing here. It will take two arguments, x and a. So it is taking two arguments. See, earlier I have written only with one argument, that was a, it was using. Okay, a it will use. Okay, here I will say cout param of derived. Okay, then it will display a. Okay, but what about x? This x I want to send it to the base class. So how to send the parameter to the base class from derived class? So here itself, beside the constructor, write colon and say base and pass x. So yes, so from the derived class constructor, I am calling the constructor of base class, which is which one? Parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. Now you watch the flow. I will change this one. I will say 20, 10. Now tell me, which constructor of derived class is called? This constructor is called. I am not saying executed. Calling is different, execution is different. Okay, call means just it is called but not executed. When it is completed, then procedure is performed, then we say executed. So I am calling parameterized constructor of derived class. So how many parameterized constructors are there? This is default one. This is one parameterized. This is second one. So I am calling this one. So what this is doing? Taking 20 in x, taking 10 in a. Then what it is doing? Calling base 20. So this base class constructor that is parameterized is called. So yes, you can call parameterized constructor of base class from derived class constructor. This is the syntax. This is the syntax. Now that will execute. So what it will display? It will show param of base and value whatever you are passing, 20. Then after it is executed, it will come back to the constructor of derived class and it will show param of derived, that is a. A was 10. So the same thing. Parameterized constructor of base class and the parameterized constructor of derived class. Right? So now when I take an example of that furniture, you want a table to be manufactured. So you went to a manufacturer and you told what should be the dimension of tabletop and what should be the height. So two things you told him. So what he will do, when he take two parameters, tabletop, that is wooden top, he will get it manufactured by somebody else. So he will give that dimension to him, that is base class. He will manufacture, tabletop is ready. Then he will use that other dimension, the height dimension, and fix the height. Okay, so that's all. So this topic is very important when it comes to object-oriented programming and when you are inheriting from classes, existing classes. So you practice a little bit on this one so you can remember. So logically you can remember. Otherwise, just knowing that, memorizing that which one will be called is difficult. Conceptually remember. When a hatchback car was extended to sedan car, and when sedan is manufactured, so first hatchback portion is completed, then the sedan part is added. So extension is added afterwards. So that's the idea, that when you create an object of derived class, first the constructor of base class is executed, then the derived class constructor is executed. So I'll show you this practically on the machine.